Interesting facts. Mount Hermon, the highest United Nations base in the world, sits on the peak of Mount Hermon, which is where the fallen angels landed according to the Book of Enoch. This is where the UN got their color blue from, as fallen angels were also Hindu gods which were blue. In year 1666 of all years, Louis XIV of France declared the meridian points, where 33.33 degrees east by 33.33 degrees north of the equator sits Mount Hermon. Keep in mind a third of the angels fell from heaven, or 33.33. Also, 33 is an important number in Freemasonry. It's also interesting that Hermon means forbidden place in the Encyclopedia of Britannica.
I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, whose name is Yahweh, in the name of his Son, whose name is Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, those are all of the names in that Paleo-Hebrew. This is the brother Sagala, coming back with another lesson. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders over at the Great Millstone Camp who teach this word with truth and sincerity. So I was just scrolling through YouTube shorts and I ran across this one. You know, it starts out as interesting facts. Now, he came with some hard-hitting evidence, you know, as opposed to the UN putting their mark, the United Nations putting their you know, one of their locations being on Mount Hermon. Now, we're going to look into this Mount Hermon, but he also put in some ignorance in there, okay, in which a lot of people go into that Genesis 6, you know, with the sons of God. They think that they're fallen angels, and they believe that, you know, angels had went into women, and then they created these monstrous demons. No, that's not the case. The sons of God are the sons of God right now are you Negroes, Latinos, and you Native Americans, which are the sons of Jacob, because he was the son of God, you know, through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And even in that time, in the Genesis 6 times, the sons of Seth, okay, according to a specific lineage, those are the sons of God, okay? So just to clear up that ignorance, now let's get into
Interesting facts. Mount Hermon, the highest United Nations base in the world, sits on the peak of Mount Hermon, which is where the fallen angels landed according to the Book of Enoch. This is where the UN got their color blue from, as fallen angels were also Hindu gods which were blue. In year 1666 of all years, Louis XIV of France declared the meridian points, where 33.33 degrees east by 33.33 degrees north of the equator sits Mount Hermon. Keep in mind a third of the angels fell from heaven, or 33.33. Also, 33 is an important number in Freemasonry. It's also interesting that Hermon means forbidden place in the Encyclopedia of Britannica.
So all of these things are fitted together because they wanted to play a narrative based upon their belief system, and you know just how he ascribed the Freemasonic 33.33 degrees, in which he was talking about the meridian points. And when we talking about meridian points, that goes into longitude and latitude, so that goes into coordinates, you know, wherever one is on the earth. So if you're at such and such place, you're going to be at such and such degrees north by such and such degrees west, or you know, wherever your longitude and your latitude goes, in which I believe the longitude is the coordinates that go north and south, and then your latitude goes east and west. So how they said it's 33 degrees, 33.33 degrees by 33.33 degrees north and east, or north and west, however he described it. They did that for a specific reason, because the United Nations is connected to this Freemasonic agenda. And when you understand who Lucifer is in the Bible, Lucifer is not the spiritual demon Satan, but Lucifer just means Illuminati, okay? And when you understand who the Illuminati is, that goes into the elite bankers, okay? Such and such, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, families such as those. You know, the ones that control most of the money flow, or if not all the money flow on earth, okay? Because it has been given into their hands for a time, okay? So let's look up the actual Mount Hermon. We're going to look up Mount Hermon. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 48. Now let's start at Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 46. And all I did was type in Hermon, KJV, so I could see when and where and how many times Hermon popped up in the Bible. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 46. On this side Jordan, in the valley over against Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt Heshbon, when Moses and the children of Israel smote after they came forth out of Egypt. Because when Moses led the congregation out of Egypt, they went through certain lands and they had to battle with the kings of those lands, okay? Verse 47, and they possessed his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan toward the sun rising. Verse 48, from Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon. Okay? So Mount Sion is Hermon. So when we're talking about Hermon, I believe Hermon is just a mountain range, and then Mount Sion is an actual mountain peak, or is part of that mountain range. So it's a mountain within that mountain range, okay? And mountain ranges can span for miles and miles and miles, but Mount Sion is a specific location in Mount Hermon, okay? So when we're talking about the United Nations, put one of their locations on Mount Hermon, okay? Mount Hermon is Mount Sion. So now we can actually get, go to where Hermon is again and probably get a couple more scriptures. So this is Psalm 89. The north and the south thou hast created them. Tabor and Hermon shall rejoice in thy name. So why would Hermon rejoice in the name of the Lord? Because the sons of God, the Israelites, in the time of Joshua, who became a high priest after this, in Moses' stead, okay? So after Moses led the children of Israel, then came up Joshua, who led the children of Israel, who was a judge, okay? So he was like the second king in Israel, okay? So then we have here Psalms 133 verse 3, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. So this is when Moses went up into that mountain range, okay? And I believe he also took the sons and daughters of Israel, okay, to that mountain range also. And then I believe they seen the Most High, and they were scared and they were fearful of their life. He took them to that mountain range. But this is also where Moses received the law, statutes, and commandments, okay, from the Lord. So when we're talking about the sons of God are in existence today, okay? And yes, we are angels, okay, but we just dwell in these bodies. Now let's get it. Ye are gods. Ye are gods. Let's just type that in. Let's see if I can get it. Psalm 82 verse 6. Oh, my bad. I said 86. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. Ye are gods, and all of ye are children of the Most High. So this is not, when we're talking about that, the fallen angels, it's not talking about It's not talking about actual angels, okay? It's talking about a physical lineage of people. And in that time, when we're talking about Genesis 6, we're talking about the sons of Seth, through us, his sons and his sons' sons, okay? But a particular son which will carry that promise. So we just talking about a lineage of people. So now let's get to Isaiah 14, because the guy equated was talking about the meridian lines, and then he was talking about the meridian lines, and then he also went up to, he equated that with Freemasonry, okay? With the 33rd degree being the highest degree in Freemasonry. So when you understand who Lucifer is, that's talked about in Isaiah the 14th chapter, okay? Let's start at verse 12. So now let's start it right there. He who smote the people, this verse 6, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. So who's ruling the nations in anger? Who's the head of the United Nations, okay? We talking about the United Nations. They oversee, they're like the government of the whole world. So they control all of the policy. And then who's over the United Nations? You have these Rothschilds, these Rockefellers, these elitist groups that actually have influence and control over all of these organizations that they've sponsored and that they've put in the power with their money and their prestige. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindered. So this is going into their fall. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yeah, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon sang, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. Because all of the kings of a lot of their enemies are going to rise up against them. Okay? And they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy viols. So what is the noise of thy viols? The violins, the music. The worm is spread under thee. That's when you have worms, that's considered decay, because that's talking about dead bodies. And the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Okay, so we talking about the United Nations sitting on Mount Hermon. And we already went into Deuteronomy chapter 4, the 48th verse, and it says Mount Hermon is Mount Zion. Now let me get one more verse. So let's get verse 21. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and the remnant and the son and the nephew, saith the Lord. And what is Babylon? The Babylonian system is, this Western European white supremacy system. But who is the great whore? Babylon is America, because that's used as like their military might to control the world and dominate the world. I'm looking for one scripture, because I don't want to read the whole thing. Let's just look it up like this. in the sides of the north. It's in that same, it's in the same chapter, but I don't want to make this too long. In the sides of the north. Isaiah chapter 14. See, I was almost there. That's why I should have just kept going and been patient. For thou hast said in thine heart, Isaiah chapter 14, verse 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. Okay, just like how we watched that video, and it said that is the highest in elevation site of the United Nations. Okay, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, I will sit also upon the mounts of the congregation in the sides of the north. So, you know, them putting that their United on top of Mount Hermon, okay? This is an example of them exalting themselves above the stars of God, because they are not the people. They are not the Lord's people. So let's get Ezekiel 35, I believe. KJV. One moment. Okay, let's start at verse 8. And I will fill his mountains with slain men in thy hills and in thy valleys. So let's start at verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy it. So who is Mount Seir? The Edomites, okay? When we talking about these bankers, and we talking about white supremacy, these people are not white. They are biblically Edomites, okay? Just like you Negroes, you Latinos, you Native Americans, you are biblically Israelites. So verse 8, and I will fill his mountains with slain men in thy hills and in thy valley. So this correlates with Isaiah the 14th chapter and the fall of this Luciferian system in which they have set up. And when you're talking about Lucifer, which is the son of the morning, that's just talking about the Illuminati, the enlightened ones, the illuminated ones, okay? For I will fill his mountains with his slain men, in thy hills and in thy valleys, and all the rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy city shall not return, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord was there. Okay, so they even want to take the mountain of the Lord and make it theirs, but it's not theirs, okay? And this is why you see a whole bunch of wickedness spread through the land. I didn't want to make this too long, but let me see if, and he drew 1/3 of the stars. I believe that is in Revelation the 12th or the 13th chapter. And he drew 1/3 of the stars. This is Revelation chapter 12. Let's go into the English Standard Version. And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. That's the symbolization of the 12 tribes of Israel. She was pregnant and was crying out in birth pains and agony of giving birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. So when we talking about, this is the United Nations, not the United Nations, but the European Union, okay? And all of its predecessors, not predecessors, but all of its constituents, okay? This so-called white supremacy system, this Western European Babylonian white supremacy system that heads over the earth. And another sign appeared in heaven, behold, a great red dragon. And even when you go into Esau in the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, okay, it says Esau, when he was born, he was red and he was hairy, okay? And with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his head 7 diadems, okay? And this is talking about this governmental system. His tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. And who is this third of the stars of heaven? That's Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Because the other 10 tribes were over here in the Americas at the time of heaven, and cast them down to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore her child, he might devour it. And that's speaking about Herod, when he created that edict, when the Lord Yahushua, who the real calls Jesus Christ, was being born. Okay, and they even do this today because they want to stop the coming of the king. They want to stop the birth of King David. So that's why they created this abortions and all of these clinics and all of these birth controls and everything, and they feed it to our people because they don't want the elect of the Lord to come upon this earth. She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule. So why are they building their things on the top of the Lord's mountain? Okay, because the Lord is going to rule, but they want to rule as if they are God. Okay, but I didn't want to make this too long, so I'm gonna just give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash, Wa Baba Ba, see death to Babylon, because these people want to plant their flag on our land and they want to take it and possess it, and they want to have us in subjugation. Okay, when you're talking about the devil as just the deceiver, when you're talking about the Lucifer, you just talking about the Illuminati. So peace, shalom, until the next time.